poverty in feminism, a discussion enclosing disparity among IPs or indigenous people. Feminist ethics from three perspectives. Historical talks about androcentrism, applied through dissertation discussing issues, and meta-ethical, which questions how ethics and politics are deteriorating boundaries across personal and political matters. Anyone can be a feminist. If you believe that all genders can have equal rights in the world, then you understand the true advocacy of feminism. Thus far, people are forgetting that feminist ethics responds to a wider group approaching ethical issues happening in and out of mainstream society. Consequently, emphasizing the indigenous community should not be left out of the discussion. Therefore, we must enlighten our minds and see the deeper ethical issues and concerns of indigenous women.
Indigenous women experience such ethical dilemmas as being underpowered by others and taking advantage of them. Here, the ethical issue that we are arguing about is what we identify as the feminization of poverty in relation to indigenous women in the community, which shows the increase in the gap between men and women, having a poor situation and being underprivileged in education, employment, and democratic rights. Thus, from the perspective of indigenous women cannot have full rights in terms of collective ownership of lands and other natural resources due to a weakening in generalized reciprocity, symbolic complementarity, and such customary laws that protects the rights of this community in their ancestral lands, ensuring they will survive economically and culturally. IP women are underprivileged in traditional access to lands and other resources that would have helped them provide for their families and give them shelter and stability in life despite being discriminated against by other dominant outsiders. Obviously, this ethical issue is crucial for IP women to be shown in their stance that they fight for their rights by organizing local and international movements in order to address this issue and stating that as they have the right to manage such resources, their social and economic position in the community also improves, which could portray utilitarianism, which states that regardless of race, gender, or cultural group, all people should consider the well-being of others. Also, their participation in the developmental process in society must be enhanced through a human rights-based approach, they said, and not through a lack of gender approach by ignoring indigenous women's voices and neglecting their needs.
However, there are problems and criticisms among those who oppose their stance. In this ethical issue, a community-based approach that includes local and indigenous women in terms of developing natural resources was heavily criticized, saying it was an idealistic view, identifying communities as homogeneous, harmonic systems. Along with the Enlightenment viewpoint of Kant, according to Feldman, women rising above men could violate the equality need and autonomy that all humans, due to their rationality, can have self-rule in the social and moral aspects. It could disrespect another person's self-worth, which everyone has and which makes all human beings moral agents. Henceforth, this statement specifically clarifies that the domination of IP women in terms of having control over the indigenous community's natural resources would be morally objectionable if indigenous women's choices would only be based on their rational will, of which they are aware and could be their direct intention according to the principle of double effect.
In spite of these arguments, IP women have always been at the forefront of their homelands and have been indispensable for the preservation and dissemination of their ancestors' traditional wisdom. They have consistently played an ensemble and community role as stewards of natural assets and curators of medical and scientific understanding. In addition to creating an economic and cultural divide between the minority and the majority, depriving women of the opportunity to access lands and natural resources would additionally hinder the majority from having access to practical solutions with traditional wisdom during catastrophes. The goal of IP women is to protect their families from the challenges of survival, not just to demand access and land. And according to notes, land serves as the IP's main foundation of identity, culture, and economic opportunity, so traditional families will be disrupted and eventually vanish as a result of the feminization of poverty and its prevalence with the region's lack of access to natural resources like land. This is because IP women battle to provide for their families due to social constraints. And in addition, the deprivation of land and natural resources constitute a violation of human rights, especially in light of Republic Act 8371 of 1997, which states that Indigenous people the right to their lands and the right to self-directed development of those lands to meet their needs for subsistence. Overall, in a way that prompts the questions, how can women protect a land with traditional knowledge while lacking formal education? The answer to the question is that IP women are not illiterate. Rather, it is a result of how society and socially constructed gender stereotypes make IP women unknowledgeable, hidden, and ignorant. Secondly, to relate it to consequentialism, women are nurturers by natures, and according to Women Nurture Nature of 2021, they have a strong connection to the surrounding world. So women are aware that maintaining nature is necessary for the well-being of the people residing nearby. As an outcome, it has the effect of educating people on how to meet the needs of the nature, particularly the land, thereby rendering it more lucrative and bountiful.
IP women may also be asked, aside from nurturing the land and your family, what could be the benefits of land to you? The answer, through the utilitarian lens, is that women have the right to climb the hierarchy, which means women can use the land as an emblem of success. And as per information about women's human rights, Global Fund for Women, women's rights are the right to everything that they deserve, from owning a property and leading a good life.